Hi there everybody from the Peace Orchard, otherwise known as the pear meadow. This is the first film I have taken, if you see it, it will be anyway, on my new Canon Ixus, which was I think about £80 from Amazon. My other camera still works. I've got two cameras, one of mine dropped and it's stuck. I need to disassemble it, it might work again then. Well, the other one, which is a Sony, which I got to take photographs at work, still takes stills, but it won't take videos anymore. It was just clicking horribly and it just jammed. It's a piece of rubbish, really. It does a job. Sony, I was talking to somebody else yesterday, and he reckons that the quality of Sony has just gone down as well. I don't know. Anyway, this is the Peace Meadow. This is an area where we made some mistakes. A friend was digging out 60 tons or more of clay, and we let them drop it here, but it didn't end up getting very well integrated into the soil. So the soil's quite lumpy. This area got neglected for a long time, and we used it as a holding bed with some trees we were going to plant up for a project somewhere, but that never happened. It just got neglected and neglected. Eventually I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some pears in here and then manage it as a wildflower meadow and wildlife area in between them. The project is moving forward. This is our most successful and notable pear. This is a variety called Winnell's Longdon. That's about my head height, it's about 6 feet. So this is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is about 13 feet tall, and it's made nearly a foot of growth this year. It's now the second week of June, so that's pretty good. And we've selected weeds by basically, as you do, by cutting out ones we don't want and favouring those we do. Letting selected stands of we're bringing the mower through here on the highest cut, a big old mower that Julia rides on the highest possible cut, to make some rides through here, and we're leaving selected areas of wildflowers here. I introduced about £100 worth, like half a kilogram of very costly mixed wildflower meadow seed, which I got from Cotswold Flowers, and I introduced quite a number of new varieties. I don't know the names of a quarter of these, well, half of them, but there's a lot of oxeye daisy around at the moment, which is very attractive. Okay, on to the pears. This was a very attractive tree. This was as big as that old Winnell's Longdon there. This was a Blakeney Red. Regrettably, and I've shown a video about this, the trunk rotted in the horribly wet year we had 2 years back. It rotted really horribly, and the bark was dead basically. It had a tree guard around it, and it just held the moisture in. What I did, there was one bit of growth coming up from the bottom of the rootstock. None of this is Winnell's, none of this is Blakeney Red anymore, so I carefully sawed it back and just left this one shoot, and it's come up very well. It's made over a foot of growth this year. I'm going to let that grow well, and I'll graft it back next year. Something else I've done just down here, this was a Burr Hardy on Quince A rootstock, but a pretty big tree. Quince A is a big rootstock, but it was in the wrong place and the plan was changing. So what I did, I sawed it right down. In fact, most of the tree is down underneath all these nettles. Another job I need to catch up with. I've been working too hard lately. Anyway, so I sawed it off here, and then I grafted a bit of Blakeney Red onto there. It's a favourite pear. And I did a little, can you see that? I did a little rind graft there. It's a 4-inch slip of wood. Hey, look at this. That's grown away quite nicely, that rind graft. That's, again, that's a good foot of growth there. So that'll be left. I'll saw I've left this on the sort of nurse branch, and that will probably crop, you know, a couple of pound of pears off of this year. Then that'll be sawn down. Working too hard lately at the daytime job. We put there's some other stories to be told down this corner, but I don't want to make the video too long. This is a new pear. It's very small, but should get big. This was from Walcott Organic Nurseries, as I recall, and this is a perry variety called Thorn, Pyrrhus communis. That's the seedling pear, the old-fashioned seedling pear. Terrible lot of bindweed this year. Bindweed is a really nuisance weed. Yeah, so that's growing on. I'll use any nursery, and sometimes it's a bit tricky to get the varieties you want when it's uncommon varieties. This is a peri pear variety, Brandy, and this is growing away very nicely, very healthy growth. This came from Deacon's nursery on the Isle of Wight. They're having one of their pop festivals out at the moment. Yes, I'm old enough to remember the Jimi Hendrix performance at the Isle of Wight Pop Festival. Some people think it was his last performance, and it wasn't. But that's another story. Here's another one. There was actually quite a good crop of fruits on this one this year, but I decided to cut them all off. This is still quite a young tree. It's quite thin, and I've tied it in there, you see, carefully. It's an old inner tube sliced in half lengthways to get 2 ties out of one inner tube, and that's you'll see that's carefully sort of figure of 8 tied to stop it rubbing. And this is about 10 feet tall. It's a companion to that, 2 peri pears, the same variety, Brandy. That was all they had. Peri pears are hard to find. Now, a few years ago I bought 5, I think 3 years ago I bought 5 peri pear rootstocks, or seedling pear rootstocks, from Keeper's nursery in Kent, and they were tiny when they came to this, really tiny. They were about as big as this. Okay, but they're good roots, so I planted them, and last year I grafted them. This is Winnell's Longdon. No, it's not. It's this I grafted here, and you can see the telltale shape of the good old saddle graft. I took the tie off last week, tentatively, just of this one. It's okay. Later I'll cut all of these off. That's doing very well, but they're not all doing as well as that. I've got a couple of others. This particular peri pear, which I've mentioned previously, is Helen's Early. It had very poor roots on it when it came, and it's never really caught up. It's still holding on for dear life, but it's okay. It's growing. This is one I grafted a few years ago, and this got neglected and surrounded by weeds. This is a really hateful weed. This wild radish, seeds like anything, and I'm trying to eliminate it this year. This was another graft a few years back. This got grown around by weeds quite a lot. That I think is Winnell's Longdon. I'm trying to stick not having too many varieties. This looks pretty chaotic, by the way, and yes, you're right, it is. We're bringing it under control steadily. And the randomness of everyday life. This is peri pear that got grafted, and with Winnell's Longdon is struggling for dear life. That probably is not going to survive. I'm leaving these to let them grow up, and I'll graft on one of them maybe next year. This got the same treatment. This is a different variety. This is Blakeney Red, but this one got the same treatment by the same person, me, on the same day with the same equipment in the same soil. There's a double cleft graft there, and well, just take a look at the growth it's made. It's fantastic growth. That's put on about 18 inches of growth, about 5 or 6 shoots on there, and there's 6 shoots, all of them over a foot long. I'm letting them all grow because it'll put more strength into the thing, and also that tie needs to be cut. That's getting a bit tight now. I'm not going to try and do that one-handed. So with any project like this, you've got to start off with more trees than you think will succeed, because you're bound to lose a few. We had some bad stuff with the pears this year, the hateful pear midge, but it didn't affect all varieties equally badly. And this is, I think for flavour, probably my favourite pear. This is one called Louis Bon of Jersey, and it's an absolutely beautiful pear. This is carrying a very, very good crop, unlike the Josephine de Malines and the Winter Nellis, which were completely wiped out. 100% loss. Oh, here's it rained last night, some of the things need it. Here's a quince tree, 2 years old. Meech is prolific. This was from Blackmore. It's not done very well. This is an old quince pear tree I grafted a few years back, and the graft did not take. I've regrafted this with quince again. Meech is prolific, and I made about 6 grafts and only 2 have taken. I'm not sure why that is, but you can see again this old saddle there, and this is taken all right, and this is taken all right. I've cut a lot of it back. I'll cut some more of it back as well, with those growing all right. When to do this, when to cut back the excessive growth of the previous variety, when to do it is a matter of judgment. Not too early. You see that one didn't survive, but these 2 did, so they're looking all right. And here's another Meech is prolific. I must say Meech is pathetic at the moment. Had some dung, you know, I'm not quite sure why it's looking so wretched. I don't pretend to be in control of everything. And here's 2 more quinces. This little corner down here I decided would be devoted to quinces. This, by the way, is the big tree. I put up a video of me digging it up and moving it. I wanted to do 2 trees that were growing in a corner, but it's took me so long to do, and I didn't have any help, so I just did the one. And the other one, well, it can stay in the shade and not crop very well. But these are 2 Serbian gold. I forget where I got these from. They were jolly expensive, £37 each, plus postage. And here's one last bit of grafting here. This, again, similar to the failed Winnell's Longdon I showed you earlier. You can see this has been cut back. This was a quince. This is a Burr Hardy pear growing on quince A. It had bad canker around the roots. I tried to do a bridge graft to save it, but I failed. So eventually I sawed it right down quite low and let it send a shoot up, and I've grafted a quince onto that. I think that's Meech's prolific quince. It's actually growing decently enough. Time, I think, to remove some of these competing branches. Yeah, the whole question, should you leave a nurse branch on or not? I tend to leave a nurse branch on with these very big old ones, but once it's quite clear that you've got success, then if you take it off, then all the growth is going through here. It's going to grow a bit more vigorously. I wouldn't like to say too much about the science of it. Anyway, there's our lovely oxeye daisies. This is still a mess, okay, but it's a purposeful mess, and it's moving in the right kind of direction, unlike certain other messes that we could talk about in the world today. One has to, yeah, as a song says, you can only try. Yeah, so hopefully that's filmed successfully. So it's goodbye from the, so it zooms. Goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from the oxeye daisies in the peace orchard.